everyone, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. I am Bonnie Krebs, creator of Watercolor the Art Impressions Way, and this week I'm back with another project. This one is from the Winter Kids set, so a little Christmas project, and I'm going to show you how to stamp these little guys. They're really simple to do. We're just going to use two colors, and we're going to create this little painting just using one stamp. So in this case, you only need one set and one stamp to do this little project. So I'm going to show you how to stamp this, and we will of course need the Watercolor Kids set, the Winter Kids set, and we're going to use this one right here. These little guys all stamp the same exact way. Okay, so let's get going. We're going to start out by stamping that basic image, and what we're going to do is we're going to ink the whole thing in the blue. So this is the dark blue, number 565. I'm just going to go over this and ink everything. The little guy, the snowman, everything in this dark blue. And then I'm going to come back over it again with the brown, the dark brown. But only in the areas that aren't snow. So when you take a look at this, you'll be able to see really clearly because you've got ink on here. So you want to ink the areas that are not snow. Everything that is not snow, you're going to go back over with the brown. So that includes this little guy here, his scarf and coat, his boots and pants. This area of the snowman, his nose, his hat. And if you miss, a little spot, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, so now that we've got that done, we're gonna just stamp it off because we don't want this too dark. So we're going to stamp it off just like that, and then we're going to stamp it onto our watercolor paper. So good, even impression, not too hard, and that's exactly what we want. We don't want it too dark. Okay, so now we're going to go back in and add some water to it. So I'm going to dip my brush in water and pinch it off. Pinch it off so that it's almost flat, just like this. And I'm going to kind of work my way around. So I'm going to start with these little pom-poms here on the hat, and just kind of work my way around. And you can see that there's a mix of color that's coming out. That's what we want. And just carefully do this. Don't get too much color on here. And kind of focus the color at the bottom of the image. So if you think about it, the light is coming straight down, and so the majority of the shadow and the color is going to be at the bottom. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're doing these. Then I'm going to go over here to the hat. The hat is a contour, so we're going to see that highlight in the center. Around here, you can see on the bottom of the scarf, I'm kind of focusing in that area. On the bottom of his nose. I'm just getting a little bit of this color out of here. So I'm doing all the areas that are not snow first. Okay, and you can see it's starting to get a little more three-dimensional here. Now I'm going to clean my brush off and pinch it off. Now I'm going to do the snowy areas. So this area is going to be blue. You'll be able to see that because we didn't add any of that brown to it. And we're going to come back in and add a little more color to this too. Okay, so let's add some blue now to the palette. This is the dark blue, same one we started out with. And we're going to apply the color to where it's the darkest first. So you can see that the snowman is rounded, so he's going to have a highlight right in the center. And so we're going to apply the color on the outside, and then just pinch your brush off and drag that color to the middle. Just want to be sure to see that highlight. Anytime you have something that's rounded, that's showing a contour, you've got to show that. You got to show that highlight, or it won't look round. It's going to look flat. And underneath here, see on the bottom, underneath his scarf, this can be darker. And actually, he would have a little shadow here under his arm, and a shadow here where this little guy is kind of leaning in. Add a little more in here. Under the hat, it's going to have a shadow under here. And that is about all we need to do with this guy. Okay, so let's go back in now and add some color to his scarf and the little guy. And we're going to start out with some green. So this is a kind of a dark, cool green. This is number 249. It's more like a pine green. And we're just going to start out by adding color now to these little outfits. So it's just a matter of coloring now. Leave the highlight on the top so you can see the top of his little hat. We're going to have a highlight up there. And then I'm going to come down on his coat, see the top of his arm. We're going to see a little highlight there. And start out light because you can always come back in and add more color. So I'm dipping my brush in water and then taking that color off the palette. And I can go back in here now and get this a little darker. And let's go ahead and move on to the scarf. And see again, the top of his scarf is going to have a highlight. It doesn't have to be huge, but it is good to see it. And make sure you're staying in each section. Don't drag your brush across a line from the original image. Don't do that. Just stay in each section. Add color to each section. Okay, so let's go on to another color. This is a warm brown here. So let's take a little bit of this. This will be perfect color for his little breeches. And you can see I'm staying in each section. And I'm just going to add a little tiny bit of this brown, and I mean a tiny bit. So dip your brush, pinch it off, and just take a little bit and add it to the face. Just a tiny bit. And let's put a little bit on here. And the hat. I feel like the hat should be brown. And again, see the highlight on there, so make sure you show that on the front. It's just always better if you don't color everything in solid. You know, it just adds more interest, makes things look like they're moving a little bit. There's some motion and animation. It's just hard to get out of that habit, you know, of coloring in everything solid. So now I've got my dark brown and I'm going on to his little boots. Coloring these guys in. And let's just add some of this to his mittens. And the nose. And I'm still leaving that highlight on the top. Okay, let's add a little more color here. Let's add something bright. This is some bright red. And let's add some red to the scarf. See the top here? Again, I'm staying in each section and I'm adding that highlight on the very top. And I can take a little bit of this now, and again, a tiny, tiny bit. Just a tiny, tiny bit, and add some to his little cheek. Okay, and I'm going to take my fine tip now. So this is the fine tip of that really dark brown. And I'm just going to darken the little buttons and the kohl where his smile is. And just a little detail underneath here. Anytime you can add something dark, really dark, you're going to really pop that image out. Okay, that looks good. So we are ready to add our snow into the background. We're going to do that with the Molotow. So this is it's actually pronounced Molotow. I used to call it Molotow, but it's pronounced Molotow. So we're going to add some of this to the image now for the snow. So we're just going to add this all in the background. You can add as much of this as you like. I just love the way this looks. All down and around here. Okay, that looks good. Got a lot of snow going on here. So we're gonna let that dry and I will be right back. Okay, I am back and it looks like my masking fluid is dry and you can tell because it's changed color. So now I'm good to go and continue on with my little painting. So we're gonna add some snow now into the background. And we're gonna just do that carefully with a brush. So I took a little bit of this color and I'm just gonna brush in a little line in the background, just like this. And just keep it really light. It's always better to start light because you can always add more color later. And we've got a little shadow under here, where this little guy is. And we can add some little marks in the snow. And then back in here, let's add some dark sky in the background. That's gonna really pop out this snowman and make him look dark by adding this dark sky. And it's gonna really pop out our snow. Be careful that you don't touch those lines from the original image. We don't want that to bleed out. And I'm just gonna stop before I get to the horizon line. I wanna kind of see a little cloud line back there, kind of break up the snow a little bit. And just keep working your way around. Put this in here pretty dark. And I'm really just kind of pushing my brush, so I'm not really painting this sky in as much as I'm just kind of pushing it in. And you can see I've kind of made it in more of a round shape, partly because I'm going to cut this out with my die, a circle die. But if you try to keep your image in a circle, it's just going to be more a little more harmonious. And then your sky doesn't get out of control off of your paper. Sometimes that happens is, you know, the sky just keeps going and going and there's nothing underneath it. And you try to thin it out and lighten it up and it just gets worse and worse. So if you kind of think about your painting in a circle and try not to go past that circle. Okay, we've got our sky in. We want to make sure that that's really, really dry before we rub off all of this masking fluid. So let's go ahead and sign. So important to do because every one of these is going to be different. And even if you're using the same stamps and you're putting out a whole bunch of different cards, you know, even if you're using the same stamp, it's still going to look different every time. And that's the fun thing about these because they're really quick and easy, but they're different every time. So they are unique works of art and people just love that. So I'm just going in here with my little detail pen and just really darkening those areas that I can. Make sure this is all really dry. It feels like it is. So now I can rub off all of this masking fluid. Comes off really easy with your finger. Add some glitter to it and make it really sparkly for Christmas. And you can see how cute that is, quick and easy, and one stamp and only a few markers. And you can do a really cool, unique card for someone. You're gonna make their day. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and I will see you all next week.